This is Unit 2, the atmosphere. For day 2 of class, we're going to talk about the evolution of our atmosphere. Our learning targets will be ES 2.A, the evolution of the atmosphere. We'll be able to describe how Earth's atmosphere has changed over geologic time, identify evidence for changes in Earth's atmosphere, state the current theories about how early life changed the chemical composition of the atmosphere. And then we're also going to work on our notes for ES 2.B, which is our current atmosphere. We're going to state the current composition of Earth's atmosphere and describe the layers of the atmosphere and why they exist. So our early atmosphere, our first atmosphere, the original atmosphere was probably just hydrogen and helium. These were the main gases that were left over from when the sun formed. The Earth and its atmosphere were very hot. Our second atmosphere actually comes from Earth itself. So many gases were added through what we call the outgassing of volcanoes and meteorite impacts. The gases that were added are water vapor, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. Eventually, our atmosphere evolved because of life form. Our early life consumed carbon dioxide and generated oxygen through photosynthesis. This mostly happened in our oceans by what we call cyanobacteria. This is a blue-green algae. It was only after this that our animal life actually became possible. Because what they did is they used up a lot of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, they made a lot of oxygen, and we all know that animals need to breathe oxygen. So animals did not exist until our cyanobacteria converted most of that through photosynthesis into oxygen. Then our third atmosphere, our oxygen is going to build up in the atmosphere and our carbon dioxide decreases. Ammonia, which is formed with nitrogen, is broken down by our sunlight, which is going to leave just our nitrogen and hydrogen. This leaves us with nitrogen, oxygen, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. Then our ozone layer was created. Oxygen continues to build up in the atmosphere. Our sunlight actually breaks apart the oxygen. Then our single oxygen atoms join in with other oxygen gas molecules to form what we call ozone gas. So if we look over here, we have our high energy ultraviolet radiation strikes an oxygen molecule. A regular oxygen gas molecule is two oxygen atoms bound together. So it breaks them apart and causes it to split into two free oxygen atoms. Those two free atoms then collide with other molecules of oxygen gas. This forms what we call ozone. This forms our ozone layer, and this is important because it protects life on Earth. It helps to convert light into heat, and it also absorbs 98% of the harmful UVA or UV rays that reach Earth's surface from the sun. This is going to allow life to flourish on land. Right now, we all get sunburn. This is from UV rays that come from the sun. We put on sunblock to block the rays from the sun. But our ozone layer is absorbing 98% of this. So if we did not have our ozone layer, there would not be a sunblock strong enough to protect us. We would all be killed by the UV rays. So we know all of this for a couple of reasons. The first thing we have are air bubbles. We take ice cores and we find air bubbles that are actually trapped from previous ancient atmospheres. So we can look into the air bubbles and see exactly what the atmosphere looked like back when that ice froze. Another thing we have are our fossil remains of stromatolites. These are early organisms that helped to change all of the carbon dioxide that was outgassed into the atmosphere into oxygen. Last one we have are what we call banded iron formations. So our early sedimentary rocks lack iron bands. they don't have minerals that have been changed into iron. Once we have oxygen produced from our cyanobacteria, it begins combining with iron dissolved in water, settling to the bottom, and forms our iron bands and sedimentary rocks. And it's banded iron because you can see these reddish bands through here. It's literally a rusted metal, and you can't do that until you have oxygen present. So our current atmosphere, or our fourth atmosphere, is 70% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% trace gases. Our trace gases are going to include our argon, water vapor, carbon dioxide, and a mixture of other gases. Our layers of the atmosphere. We have 4 distinct layers based on temperature changes. It's important. We say it's a different layer because the temperature has changed. All right, so our troposphere is at the surface, then it moves into our stratosphere, our mesosphere, and then our thermosphere. The thermosphere blends into our exosphere, which goes out into space. Our gravity decreases the farther you get from the surface. So in our troposphere, this is our lowest layer. It extends up to about 10 kilometers at what we call the tropopause. Okay. This contains 99% of the water vapor and 75% of the atmospheric gases in the entire atmosphere. So the majority of it is down in our troposphere. This is what is going to support life. This is where the majority of our weather and all of our clouds happen. Half of the mass of the entire atmosphere, and it's heated from the surface of the Earth. Temperature is going to decrease as height increases. So down here at the surface, it will be warmer, and it's going to get cooler and cooler and cooler as you get up higher. Our stratosphere, this is directly above our troposphere. Troposphere is topped off by the tropopause, and then we go into the stratosphere. This extends from about 10 kilometers up to about 50 kilometers up, where we have our stratopause, which is just the top of the stratosphere. This is where we're going to find our ozone layer, where we have 3 oxygen atoms bound together. This is what's protecting us from UV light. There's a lack of weather here, so this is where the majority of our planes try to fly. And our temperature increases with increasing height. So when we start down here in our troposphere, it's warm near the surface, it gets cooler, it gets cooler, it gets cooler. Then, once we cross over into the stratosphere, it starts getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and temperature keeps increasing until we get to the stratopause. Next, we have the mesosphere. This extends from around 50 kilometers to 85 kilometers up to the top of it, which is called the mesopause. This is our coldest layer. This is where all of our meteors burn up, or any of our meteor showers that we see up in the night sky. It's because our meteoroids are burning up here. Our temperature decreases with increasing height. So in our troposphere, temperature drops. Stratosphere, temperature rises. Mesosphere, temperature drops until you get to the mesopause. Then we get into our thermosphere. This is going to extend from 85 kilometers to 500 kilometers. This is going to blend into our exosphere. This is going to be the thickest layer, and it contains our ionosphere. This is a layer of electronically charged particles, and this is what causes our aurora borealis, or our auroras, the colored lights that are in the sky. It's going to have very high temperatures due to it filtering X-rays and gamma rays that come from the sun, and our temperatures are going to increase with increasing height in the thermosphere. Then we get into our exosphere. Notice there is no thermopause. There's no outside layer of the thermosphere. Thermosphere literally blends directly into the exosphere. So this is where our atmosphere merges into space. It's the upper limit of our atmosphere. This is where our space shuttle orbits. and temperature continues to increase with increasing height. So many times we have the thermosphere and exosphere combined together because temperature is continuing to increase. So to go over, and we can see over here, this is where it's going to show our temperature. Our troposphere, the temperature starting at about 20 degrees Celsius, is going to drop until about -60 degrees Celsius when we reach our tropopause. Then our temperature is going to increase. We go through our ozone layer, still in the stratosphere, all the way up till we get to our stratopause. Then our temperature is going to again decrease until we get to our mesopause. And then temperature will again increase through our thermosphere all the way out through our exosphere.